and your class
And you
one.
get some ranks as well.
Yeah.
New ranks, some new ones.
I was actually like kind of curious. Like, so I saw the video that you did about the loot changes in Shadowlands. How do you feel about the Great Vault?
It's so awesome, but it could be too awesome. And that's
really?
I think that's what Blizzard is terrified about. I really do think they're absolutely petrified of what they've created there, because it's really, really good. If you think about how different it's going to be from BFA, in theory, you are going to get a brand new piece of the highest quality gear that your character can possibly get every week, which means you have a relatively limited lifespan on how much opportunity you have to get gear. So I did a quick gauge of a few thousand people, and it was most people gear entirely from the weekly chest. That is just how they gear. They don't raid, they don't do anything. They just get weekly chest. So one thing that was extending their playtime for Blizzard was people getting repeat crap. Yeah. They were getting, getting over and over again. In theory, that's not going to happen again. Someone's going to be a no loot Andy, right, and have 9 choices and get nothing. That's going to happen, right? But for the most part, because there's no duplicates now, we have that confirmed. Right. So you're going to have this entire selection of stuff to choose from every single week. If I play exactly as I do right now, I get 4 choices of loot every single week, and for about 4 hours, and it's all going to be mythic quality.
So you think that people are going to run out of content? They're going to run out of shit.
I think Blizzard's worried about that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not surprised, honestly. But the thing is, though, is that to get all 9 of those choices, you have to put in probably 20 hours. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But even if I do, even if you were doing exactly what you're doing now, I don't know what your weekly play is, but if it was for me,
he watches your YouTube video.
5 hours. For 5 hours of play a week, I would have 4 times the choices I've had throughout BFA with no duplicates. So that alone is a huge, huge benefit. Because I might be like, I kind of hope to get some gloves at some point. The chances of me getting those gloves are really, really high.
Exactly.
So I think you were hunting a weapon for ages, right?
Oh, I sure was.
You could have got. You tripled your odds every single week. Well, someone's going to get unlucky.
Does it work the same way with weapons in Mythic Plus and weapons out of PvP? So, for example, you said the weapons that you got out of the raid were Covenant specific and they had the tokens, but you can still get weapons out of Mythic Plus, right?
Yeah, it looks like if you do 15 Mythic Pluses, you'll get 3 items from the Mythic Plus loot table. Yeah. During the raid, we'll give you loot from the raid table, and PvP will give you PvP stuff. So you can actually say, if you're a raider but the best weapon comes from Mythic Plus, you can focus on some Mythic Plus to triple your chances of getting that item. It's still a lot of items, but it's 3 times more chances than you normally have.
I've been working a bunch on this thing that Asmon and I are doing. So I've actually missed any updates that there have been on this. Did they keep the numbers the same so far?
They're changing it every now and again.
10 Mythic Plus dungeons right now, which I still think is way too many. 10 is insane. I don't know, to get 3 pieces of gear. Maybe I'm off base on that.
If you only Mythic Plus, it's not that. I don't think 10's too much for a week.
Really?
If you're a Mythic. No, not. I mean, I don't know. It's depending on your group, obviously. But if you are entirely Mythic Plus focused, 10 dungeons in a week, it's not too far off progress raiding. It's not too far off what you would do in progress raiding. Really,
I actually feel like the cool thing about that too, and I could see it very easily not panning out this way. But for some people, it might be one of these things where it's not just that mad rush to get 10 done in one day. It might just be one of those things where you log on every day, you do a dungeon or 2 with the homies, and then you get
your old daily heroic.
Yeah, kind of. Which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. The thing is when you all of a sudden are in a situation where you feel the thing that I don't like about the chest, right? I'll say that first, and I've always said this. I don't like when you don't instantly get the reward, right? I think one of the things that's always been so good about loot in general, in looting games, is the loot explosion that happens, right? You get that instant feedback, and you go, I want to go again.
No, dude. No, man. Remember, no, dude. 100% no. I remember, man, I could be having the worst day ever, but if it was a fucking Tuesday, I knew I was coming home and buying a new piece of arena gear. It didn't matter how bad that
is
day
true.
was. I had that to look forward to, man. I open up that box or I go to that vendor and I buy that item, and I knew that shit was coming, man.
I do agree with that, because I had a lot of good memories with that as well.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I think that there's something very good about the PvE loop that's existed for a really long time that obviously will still exist in raiding, that where you kill the boss, you walk up to that son of a bitch and see what loot's on him, right? I mean, obviously now you don't really need to walk up as much because you have a slot machine that randomly determines who gets the gear and your personal loot. But I mean, the whole thing is I feel like instantly getting that gratification, you go like, this act got me that gear in the back of your mind. That's the one thing that I don't like about the chest. But the thing that is great about it is, you get rewarded for playing the game. And it's, yes, there's a little bit of RNG there, but it feels closer to the type of RNG that we initially had in the game. My question for Preach, though, is, do you think that they need to change how Mythic Plus gear, I think I've talked to you about this in the past, but how the Mythic Plus loot table actually acts throughout the entire expansion? Because right now, I mean, essentially you get that Mythic Plus loot. Over time, the item level increases, but it's basically just boring loot that exists for 2 years.
Harlan's
what are they going to do? Yeah,
Well,
what are they going to do? Yeah, I would. Like, the loot is boring. And one of the things they're doing is they've got a really big mindset change that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people, is they're really cutting down on quantity of loot and ideally pushing the quality up, right? So we don't have bonus roll coins anymore. Mythic Plus doesn't drop anywhere near as much loot anymore. It's lower item level. Raids are going to drop less loot. We've now seen that World Quest loot is dependent on your renown, so you're going to have to get that to get it up. So they've heavily dropped the amount of items you're going to get.
Good.
But yeah, what they need to do to counter that, though, is we're kind of coming back to what we talked about before, right? When they took away the tier set bonuses, but they said we're going to focus on this, and it's going to be awesome. So, okay, you're reducing the quantity. Good. We really need to see those. What are this expansion's Ashbringer? What are those big ash candies? What are those items that are going to make people go, I need that? Because that's what's going to inspire people.
I cannot wait. Dude, I cannot wait to get that, man. It looks so cool.
Do you think seasonal loot? Do you think seasonal loot?
That's what I think they should do, man. Is like, imagine if they had like every season they would change the trinkets in Mythic Plus and give them special affixes that would match with the seasonal affix. That would be so fucking cool, and they could rebalance them every single time. I would love to see something like that, because it's like, if you're just sitting there every single time farming for a trinket that has agility and it gives you haste on a proc for the entire expansion for 2 fucking years, give me a break. That's awful.
Yeah. Absolute shit.
I like the feeling of there being, a chase piece in a bunch of different areas of the game, right? And you do the part that you're the best at, you get as close to your maximum power as possible, and then you go, shit, looks like I need to find some people to queue with, because that piece in PvP is super juicy. And I did Mythic Plus more because I liked doing the Mythic Plus, and I wanted to get like the chest in general, but there was never a piece that often. There wasn't a piece that I was like really excited about getting, and I just hope that changes. So all in all,
conduits this time. It might actually be conduits that we'll be chasing to
How do you feel about those, though?
Well,
what do you mean? The dog shit, like.
Yeah.
I think as a warrior, right? I liked Gedeku. Gedeku was an awesome weapon. I love that. But getting it and then having to get it next patch, and then the patch after that, and the same exact item, that was fucking boring. I like to see more loot that's like Gedeku. I want to see more loot that's like Crucible of Storms in Shadowlands. I want to see cool items that maybe don't give you a ton of secondary stats, but they just give you this really cool affix that you could do. That's what I would love to see. And like
something that makes you stand out, right? That's it.
Yeah, hell yeah. It just makes you feel cool. Like, I like more customization for your gear. But yeah, conduits, I don't know. Like, so is it still the 1 week lockout on conduits?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And they're boring. That's the sad thing. They're really boring. For the most part, they're like static damage increases. It does 5% more. There is a couple of interesting ones which people always hold up as like the example, but they're
look at
boring.
This exception.
I honestly think that if they just completely removed that system, it would only do
nobody would care. I swear
literally, it would
nobody would care.
do the game well. And if there was anything that they really wanted to include in any classes. They could just make it baseline.
I'll put it into tier sets.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll add them to legendaries, because legendaries are also boring for the most part. Like
really?
I've made legendaries of several characters and not been able to choose any that I cared about. Like on my hunter, I was just like,
Yo, is there an
These are all
Agamar
crap.
Stride legendary?
there's some variation on it, but it's not as strong. I think. Like it's like there's a new Cephas, but it's not as good as the original Cephas. You know.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing they've put in there. So if they could add the conduits into the legendary effect, because some of them are clearly designed to work together, and that would make the legendaries more interesting. That would be cool. But we're going to have to refarm those. I think the system is going to be, you get your first round of conduits, right? And then next season, there'll be other ranks, so we have to go and refarm all those conduits again. And they're just gems that we have to go and get. Like,
I feel like that's kind of the same thing. It's like, so you still have like all the ranks on conduits as well, right?
Not yet, but they've been data mined, and you have to imagine they probably don't want you to farm all your conduits in the first season, and then you're done with that system for the remainder of the expansion.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure
that's
add
really
new
not
ones.
what they want. So very highly likely they're gonna make it so you have to refarm them. They'll add some more new ones, but for the most part, they're really dull.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like one of the big ideas that people kind of kept going back to is it's like, oh, they're going to use the conduits and they're going to use the soul binds to kind of offset any imbalances that exist based off of the choice that you make with your covenant. I feel like that was for a while what people were expecting to see, and I actually think it made a lot of those problems worse. I actually think that covenants feel a lot better if you just get rid of them altogether. If you get rid of the soul binds and get rid of the soul conduits.